Hey there, everyone. It's Ariel Helwani once again on this Monday afternoon. Great pleasure to be joined by Dominick Cruz. I always hesitate to reach out to fighters after a tough weekend, but he's always been a pro after wins and losses, and he's kind enough to join us after Saturday night's UFC 249 fight against Henry Cejudo. First off, Dom, thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. How are you feeling on this Monday following the fight?
I feel great. I'm walking around. I'm healthy. Nothing's injured, so that's a first. It's nice. It feels good to know that in a week's, a few days time, flush my legs because I checked a lot of kicks, so my shins are a little swollen. Other than that, I feel great.
I know you were disappointed with the stoppage in the moment in the cage. Less than 2 days later, 36 or so hours later, how do you feel about it now?
Yeah, when I look at that, you gotta first move into. I encourage everybody, to first move into a responsible place in situations like this. And what was my responsibility? What was my responsibility to work back up to my feet if I did happen to get rocked? To me, that's the job of the referee to tell me that. He did tell me that, and I did do that. So if we're talking about the criteria that the referee offers me to make sure that I get to stay in this fight, I believe I was following those conditions. I was working my way back up to my feet on the fence, and you're going to eat some shots in those positions. It's just the name of the game. And before I went out to that fight, I specifically remember looking at this referee, Keith Peterson, and he's like mumbling, touching the floor, like putting his fist down and then putting his fingers about where not to knee and where to knee. And I'm like, and he won't look me in the eyes. And I'm like, and I'm going underneath like this to try to make sure he looks me in the eyes. And I'm like, hey, man, I can't understand what you're saying to me. Like, what are you talking about? Be clear, because you are in control of this fight and I want to know what's going on. I need you to make this work. You know what I'm saying? I need you to understand that. Shook his hand and said, I need you to let me go out. This is a title fight. I need you to not be stopping this early. And I'm asking you, like, yo, man, let me fight my fight. Let me go out there. If this is going to be stopped, don't stop this for some rabbit punches or something. And I looked him in the eyes and I said, because I need you for this. And I shook his hand and I remember, yeah. And my experience of him was smelling like he had been out all night the night before, like cigarettes and alcohol. So, and he could not make eye contact with me. I have never in 25 fights had a referee that could not make eye contact with me before a fight. So first I moved into responsibility and said I should not have put the referee in that position to make that decision. And I should not have, we're in the last 20 seconds of the match. So he says, it's not my job to know the clock. Yes, it is. It is your job to know the clock. You have one job. It's to keep us safe and know the time. Why did me and Henry know there's 20 seconds left in the round? If we know that as top tier athletes, you should know that as a top tier rep. And with 20 seconds left in the round, that is a time when fighters sprint. That's you got to throw Hail Marys in that time. That's the go for it time in a football game. Same thing in fights. And at the end of a 5-minute sprint, you need to sprint. Who wants it more? Henry did his job. He went out there and threw a Hail Mary kick. I fired an uppercut, and instead of the hook coming, which I was gonna slip, I move into his knee and he catches me. He did his job. He sprinted at the end of the bell. But I wasn't out. And you can see it on tape. And I'm dodging punches so I can get back up to my feet on the fence. And on my way up, which is the criteria of the referee, protect yourself and get to your feet, he stops me. So I asked him specifically, very clearly, looking him in the eyes, and forced him to look me in the eyes when he shook my hand, that wasn't going to be the case. And it was the case. So with that and my experience as a referee, that's the reason I said something. Not to mention, if you look at boxing, the highest level of boxing matches, especially for titles, they get a choice of the referee and the judging. Sometimes they negotiate it. I don't see why this should be any different, because the second I saw that this referee couldn't look me in the eyes, I said, I wish I had Herb Dean right here, right now. That's the referee I want. And, you see how he officiated that title match after, and I agree with everything he did. I think he officiated it amazingly. So you can look back, and I want to hold the referees accountable too. If you're in there, you should be in just as clear of a state as a fighter. You should be able to look the fighter in the eye and face every question that they have and everything that they say. And we should be able to, negotiate that, I believe, for at least title fights, because, that was a weak link, I believe, in my fight between me and Henry was the referee. But don't put yourself in those situation fighters. That's what I say to myself, but in a fight like that, I expected it. I expected to go where I'm going to get hit, you're going to get rocked. And that's why I tell the referees that. I mean, it's a title fight. Somebody's going to get hurt. I expected to rock him. He rocked me. It go back and forth, just like me and Cody did, back and forth. I hurt Cody in that fight too. He didn't fall to his butt, but he dropped and he touched his hand, and we kept going. The referee did an amazing job in that fight, I believe. So I've just never had a referee that I felt so shaky about leading into the fight, that couldn't make eye contact, that smelled the way he smelled. And I have accounts of fighters who have legitimately, and camps who have legitimately, I mean, Jeremy Stevens has told me, like, he had to carry that dude back up to his room before he's so hammered. So this is real stuff that we're talking about. If fights are going on and these guys are getting hammered the night before and they're not clear and they're coming in hungover, like, you're a weak link in my 3-year preparation for this. And I don't appreciate that. I was prepared to die in that fight. I've been training for this for 3 years. And to get stopped like that was disappointing for me, because I had more fight in me, 100%. Again, though, going to responsibility, Ariel, and I shouldn't have been there. That's what I can look at myself. And to talk about the fight and analyze the fight, the first round I gave up. I wasn't aggressive enough. When you don't come aggressive enough in that first round, I spent a little too much time feeling out, getting the reads. You give up the round. Second round, I came up and I was able to be a little bit more offensive with the reads I was making. And then, we had 3 rounds of fighting left. Those are my rounds in a lot of my fights in the history. If you look just at how I fight. So in a responsibility mindset, don't start slow in title fights. You don't get a lot of chances. And I did, and Henry didn't. And so he got that win.
Was that the first time that you've ever had Keith Peterson as a referee for one of your fights?
I believe so. I can't remember ever, because I would remember a guy who can't look me in the eyes. I just remember that. I make sure if we're going into war together that you're there, you're present.
Did you say anything to anyone before the fight, like after the conversation in the locker room that you just spoke of? Did you mention it to anyone?
My team was there, and they were kind of laughing at the situation, because I was like, yo, hey, I'm over here, man, and making sure he's accountable and there and present with me when I'm communicating to him, because that shouldn't be what I'm doing as a fighter. That should be what he's doing to me as the ref. And I know I'm doing this, and I'm like, what's going on? And how, I can't say anything at that point, Ariel. It's already, they're not going to change the ref because this guy won't make eye contact with me. At that point, you kind of just go, all right, my responsibility is to just make sure you shake this dude's hand, get the eye contact at whatever cost, so that he understands you're here and you're telling him, and that he's hearing you and not just listening, going in one ear out the other, and that's what I can do. That was my responsibility. Other than that, it's focus on the fight. Get in there. Don't give him the opportunity to stop it, because you can't trust this guy, and you go in knowing that sucks. Going in knowing, like, shit, all right, don't give this guy, but Dana says it all the time. Don't give the referee a chance. And he's right. I shouldn't have. I did. It's literally like in any other pro sport, you have to count on the officiating at times, you do. It's the highest level of competition. There's going to be dark times in there. And that's what I live for. I live to grind through those dark times. That's how I win fights.
And just curious, did you have a conversation with him afterwards?
Hell no. Do you see how quickly that dude ran out of the octagon? When I told him that he dropped the ball, he was gone. He couldn't even face me. He knows. He knows. You don't stop a fight like that for title repercussions. And with 3 seconds left in the round, while I'm working my way up, I'm not face planted. I'm working up. I'm going north, going up toward, that's what the criteria is to keep the fight going. The ref tells you that.
And so how confident are you based on how those first 2 rounds went? And I know you said you do your better work later on, and that is true. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. How confident are you that you would have actually won based on what happened in there, you feeling him, how he was performing, that you would have ended up winning this fight had it gone into the championship rounds?
I mean, like, I can't sit here and say I'm going to win. I would have said I was going to win the first 2 rounds, and I won. I would believe I was on my way to winning the second, got caught. So he probably would have won that second, finishing out like that, which is his job. but it's a lot of energy you're using to do that as well. He's using a lot of energy to press me as much as he did in those first 2 rounds. And that goes push, pull, this part of the game, and I'm in shape. So I like my odds in those next 3 rounds. I really do, especially with the experience I have in those 3 rounds and him not. He knows as a smart fighter, and he did his job. Put the pressure the first 2 rounds. Those are his best shots. And he made it. He capitalized on his best timing to get the job done with me. So that you can give him kudos for.
Did he do anything that surprised you that you weren't expecting?
No, I knew he was going to attack the legs. So I checked a lot too. And he hurt himself with a lot of the kicks that I checked. I would say he didn't surprise me, and I didn't feel rusty. I felt this is the first time where I was hesitating in the first round. I wasn't firing the way I needed to. And I talked to my coach, and it's like, he goes, yo, it's minor adjustments. We need more rounds getting into these fights. And you knew this was the situation getting into this, and I did. You get as many rounds as you can in a month time after, I've probably been going live with guys at the caliber of Jeremy Stevens for 4 weeks. So I got, I don't know, two sessions. I don't know, that's maybe 12, 15 sparring sessions after the 1,000-day layoff. And I felt sharp. I was doing really well in camp. But when you get into that scenario, I needed to fire more instead of in those first 2 rounds. Well, especially round 1, I needed to fire more than I did. So that gave him that first round, and that gave him the confidence he needed. So I picked it up in the second the way I should have. And I believe the rest of the fight would have kept going that direction for me.
I was just going to ask you, you bring up, the time off and whatnot. Famously, you have said on multiple occasions that cage rust, ring rust isn't true. It's a myth. Now that the big question for me going to this fight was, all right, you believe in that, and I believe that you believe in that, but you're also older now. So father time plus the layoff, how does that affect you? Now that you've had the fight, did you feel like the layoff affected you negatively in any way?
Well, I've already seen the fight too. I went and watched it last night, and no, I felt fast. I had him. He had to make a lot of adjustments too. He was dealing with a lot, and that wears and tears over the rounds. But I felt sharp. I felt fast. I can't critique myself. I was firing an uppercut, and then when he was throwing a kick, it's like that's the last 20 seconds of a round. You get into flurries, and that happens. So. No, I don't go back and say that I was rusty. I don't believe that. I mean, I really don't. I lost, but I don't believe it's because I was rusty. I believe it's, because of the circumstances mixed with some choices I made in the fight.
I feel like I know the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway because you're such a pro. Fighting in front of no fans, was that weird at all? Did it take some time to get used to that? Did you feel like it was jarring or an adjustment at all?
It was. I've never felt that. So I will say that in the first round, the adrenaline was way lower than I've ever felt. That was different. But it's just so different when there's people there and you're hearing them like cussing at you and telling you suck. And then some people are like, you got this. And it's like such a mixture of energies that really does pour another dynamic to it in that first round. However, I don't believe that it changed the fight for me in any way. It just was interesting. It was odd. It was definitely different, to say the least. So quiet, but it reminded me more of like an old school wrestling match, like back in high school or something, when you're just on the mats and everybody's quiet watching. It was cool. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And I'm curious also, could you hear the broadcasters too?
Not really. No.
Okay.
You couldn't. I could hear, them in my corner. My corner was telling me, certain combinations, and I could hear them, and I was making adjustments. So I'm happy with the fight, honestly, with how I performed, and I don't feel that I was like, I would tell you like, yeah, I looked rusty. No, I should have fired more in the first, but I was coming on in the second, and I know that would have kept moving forward from there. So time with that. And I definitely not my age, because I looked at the fight and I wasn't slower and I wasn't off. So it wasn't speed or power that was the issue. It was the timing and everything else, and picking up the pace sooner, right off the bat.
any fight that ends like that, in a controversial way, in a way where you feel like it was stopped too early, is frustrating. But considering the road back to get to this point, 3.5 years, and everything you've been through mentally and physically, how do you digest this on the Monday? Like, is it killing you inside? How are you reacting to this?
Oh yeah, come on, man. You can't. If you ever like, the only way I can text like put it into words is like after you've been with somebody like a girl maybe for like 3 or 4 years, and then she breaks up with you, and then you're just at home, kind of sick to your stomach, just dealing with it, trying to look at the responsibility factors that how I created this scenario, and then what's the lesson to be learned. That you never waste a good crisis is one of my favorite quotes. So here we are, like what is there that can be gained from this situation? And that's why I like to face these media scrums immediately with just get one and done, Ariel. And we're with ESPN together. We've known each other since WC days, so I've known a lot of interviewers, but you always seem to be clear with the message and positive, in a positive demeanor. And so I like to just get one statement out. Boom, here you go, people. This is how I feel. This is where I'm at. I'm okay. But I'm not going to lie. Of course, it's depressing. That's sad. It's not what you want. It wasn't how I saw it. It wasn't how I slated it. You don't expect, there's more to fight. And I knew I had it. And so that leaves that question burning forever. And that's just not what you want. Is that burning question, like, because I know I was on my way up and I know I was coherent.
You want to keep going?
I don't care, man. Let's talk. I don't go for it.
No, I don't mean talking. I got a lot more to ask you. I mean, do you want to keep fighting?
Oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm in this, dude. I just need to get in there and get some more rounds. Let these legs flush, move them around. I'm healthy. I love I love feeling lethal. And right now I'm a lethal person still. I love being healthy. It feels so good to be healthy. Even after a fight, to feel healthy like I do, it's different. I'm usually going into these 5-round wars, and I'm used to double the amount of damage triple the amount of damage that I took, because over 5 rounds, you just accumulate a lot. Even with good decision making, you accumulate a lot on your feet and your hands. And none of that's taking place. My face is fine. I barely got hit in my face. It's just part of it. You know what I mean? And loss is part of this thing.
The reason I asked that question was because I remember when you were coming back, you were saying I should fight for the belt, and the idea of fighting these younger guys and working my way up isn't all that appealing. So now I wonder, do you feel like doing that? That's what I mean.
Well, I needed that shot, and I felt like I did. Like, I'm bummed because that's a once in a lifetime opportunity I had right there. That you take those any day of the week if you're me. And I was so excited, and I earned it, and I wanted it, and I was prepared, and I was in shape to go 5 rounds, and I wanted those 5 rounds. I was ready for a 5-round war, and hopefully if I got them out early, I could, but just with that, it just sucks with the situation of a weak link in between me and the person of too strong, healthy, sacrificed everything, been drug tested, been focused, been starving ourselves of food and water, and this guy can't even put a cigarette down for an hour. You know what I mean? And it's like, come on, man, let's get it together a little, please.
Did you see those tweets? I can't figure out if they're real or not. Have you seen this?
I'm not really. One thing I'll say too: stay off the internet.
Yeah. I mean,
people have a lot of opinions.
Yeah. Well, no, there was tweets. So there's a Keith Peterson Twitter account, and it looks, if you scroll down, it looks like it's a legit account because he's talking about just, innocuous things. But then this account sent 2 tweets to you, which seemed very unprofessional. So I don't know if I'm falling for another, fake account or not. I didn't know if you saw those.
I don't pay attention. That's why I'm not on the internet.
Yeah.
Think of the amount of people who are happy to rub things in your face when you're down, and happy to, you also don't want to have to rely on the love to build you up. This is a time when you're kind of dealing with stuff, and I'm authentically dealing with this in front of you, that it's not fun. I'm not, hey, yay. I'm not like, oh, no big deal. Like, it is a big deal to me. It's huge to me. This was 3 years of my life, and I was prepared to win. I thought I was going to go in there and win. I was not going in there to just lay down. Like, hell no. And to stop like that is very disappointing, very heartbreaking for me. And if that was my experience of the referee, okay, everybody doesn't have to agree with me, but I'm there ducking my head trying to get this man to look me in the eyes. There's an issue. I know it for a fact, and it did not make me comfortable when that started. And that's why I've never had to reach my hand out and shake a referee's hand to make sure that they're like present with me, because their eyes are going so all over the place, because there's something about me he couldn't face. I don't know what it was. That's for him to be in. He can be in that question, but I'm allowed to have my experience of this man. And it doesn't have to be right or wrong. It can just be my experience of him. I've also taken responsibility. Let's not forget that. Has he taken a look at some responsibility, maybe himself? Maybe he could do that too, because I've taken responsibility for putting him and giving him that power, and giving him that thing to have to look at. I shouldn't have put myself in that position. You hope that you can count on the instruments that are being used, you know?
That's one of my biggest pet peeves about this sport, is that you guys have to answer, the music. You have to answer our questions. Dana White does, the promoters do, the coaches do, but the ones who are supposed to be held accountable the most, the officials, right? The judges and the referees, they don't have to face any music. They don't do interviews. They don't tell you. There's a couple here and there that do it from time to time, but it's almost impossible to get them to speak on this. And I feel like a controversial moment like that in boxing, you get an interview with the referee, or they'll make a statement or something. You shouldn't, if there's something controversial, you should address it. You should have to address it. It should be part of the system. And I agree with you. There should be some accountability there. So
just give us an opportunity to choose our ref. You give me a group of 3 refs, and I promise you, fighters all over the world will be like, me. Like, this is one of the benefits of being on the media side with you and also being a fighter and getting to compete, is this. Like, there's some real changes that I get to see from the outside, from the inside, back and forth, having everything and then losing it, having everything again and then losing it, getting another shot to win it again and then losing it. And being on both sides of the spectrum, man, I have like a laser beam understanding of this game, period. And seeing this officiating is a weak link. And there's a way that it can be adjusted. If I go, yo, I don't like this that you're trying to give me, let me have Herb Dean, boom, whole thing's flipped. I'm in responsibility. Look, I picked that ref. He officiated it. He could have officiated it wrong, but now it's like, I picked him and I put myself there, and me. To have that guy that I'm not comfortable with, and I'm like, shit, all right, that's another thing I can't count on. There's enough I got to deal with, to not be able to count on the guy who's supposed to be able to face me and the other man.
So you lose the fight, you're disappointed, you feel like it stopped early, and then he announces his retirement in the cage, and you were right in back of him talking to Dana. We could sort of see you. And I was wondering how you felt, because here you are, 3.5 years, you try to get that belt, and all of a sudden he beats you, and in your mind, prematurely, and he just like gives up the belt. And you're like, damn, I just worked this whole way to get that, and you're just throwing it away. How did you react to that when you heard him say that?
Well, it's, good for him. Honestly, like I always say, if somebody loses their job, congratulations. Now you get to figure something else out. I remember when you lost your job, you were heartbroken, Ariel. You've rebuilt the entire platform and everything's brand new. And what a lesson that could be learned for you, right? I mean, amazing, I'm sure. He's going to start a new journey. I think it's good for him, to be honest. Everything that I said before this fight, I think he's going to move right into it. Who are you without the belts? Who are you without the accolades? He'll have them. He earned them. But I've got a lot of those too. I can look back and I can pull out belts and show everybody. And I'm very proud of my line of work and the people. I cleaned out a division at one point. I'm proud of myself. So he gets to have that too. He gets to have this moment. He earned it. But I'm curious, let's see who he makes a difference for. It's tough being out. It's tough changing your life, and he gets to deal with that. I hear he's got, his own life moving forward. I think he said he had a kid on his way. Congratulations on that. Not 100% on that, but I thought that's what I
think
might
he
have
said
heard.
he wants to have a kid.
Okay. So that's moving forward with life. I said it since he was a kid. He's been Olympic athlete out of high school to world champion fighter. Like, now he gets to live life. He's choosing to live life. Oh, kudos to you. It is what it is. he's got his timing for everything. And, I got mine.
Do you believe him?
About being retired.
Yeah.
I think that he probably is saying that to get more money. He actually wants just more money and he'll fight. But if he doesn't get more money, yeah, I think he would retire. And I think that it's funny because Dana doesn't give a shit. Dana doesn't care if you want more money. Like, yeah, you beat me. Okay. Look at how you won and be proud of that. Do your thing. And I don't think that he's going to get what he wants, but if he wants more money, I think he got one of the biggest paydays you could ever get a part of right there in this pay-per-view that we just did. Sick card, stacked on a time when there was no other pro sports going on. If you can't reach skyrocket pay-per-view numbers in that time, then it's hard to negotiate with Dana in the UFC because that's what they negotiate with. They negotiate with how the spike happens when you fight. How do your views go? Oh, did you create a spike in the viewership? Well, no, you didn't. You created less than Ronda Rousey, or you created less than Conor McGregor. So what are we really talking about? Like, why would we pay you more? You're not doing anything for us. We're doing something for you. And I think a lot of these fighters don't understand that you can be the best fighter on earth, but you still got to create a spike somewhere. You got to do something. Do you create that spike or not? And that's the responsibility factor of a fighter. Because then at that point, if you don't create that spike in the viewership, then the UFC has to fill that gap for you to create the spike. So are we counting on them, or are we counting on our own business making skills, our own existence as a fighter? We're private contractors here. So how is our business built to create a spike for the UFC? Or are we going, hey, UFC, put me in, I deserve it, I deserve it, I deserve it. I didn't feel I did that. I feel like I've been building. I haven't stopped working. I mean, I'm one of the few fighters with multiple jobs while I'm competing. Everybody goes, you've been off. I've not been off for 1,000 days. I've been training while I work 2 other jobs. It's much different.
And just curious, how was the experience for you? A very unique fight week, like with the testing, and then even on fight night where you're only there at the arena for 90 minutes and they're shuttling the guys in. Like overall, did you feel like it ran smoothly?
I honestly wish it was always like this. And then you have fans in there. You add fans to that exact same recipe, and I felt like an extremely respected pro athlete. I did. Even the swab test was horrible, but they gave me my results. You're clean and clear to go. You don't have COVID. I knew I didn't have it, and that was a good feeling to know. Obviously, not a lot of people can even get a test, for God's sake. I'm over here getting tested for free and getting to fight somebody, keep my job. It's what a gift this thing was. It's not the way I wanted it to end. It's a tough pill to swallow. Because of just there's a lot that was uncontrolled in it for me. That was like out of my hands that I wanted more. However, this is my bed and I get to lay in it, right?
How many times do you think you'll watch that fight? Like, will you watch it a bunch of times today too?
No, once I see it and I see how, I made the reads on what were the issues in the first round. I just needed to be more offensive for myself. I needed to come out harder. And in the second round, I did that. I made the adjustments. And at the end of the round, after the headbutt, he got that good rest. So that allowed him to push the pace even more, to create the Hail Mary situation that he went for. And he did his, if we're talking about ring generalship, understanding of time, that's my point. Do you see that me and Henry understand there's 20 seconds left after a headbutt? We both rested, and now there's a sprint that's going to take place, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
The ref said it's not my job to know the time. What? You better know we're going to sprint. And this is do or die at the end of these rounds, ref. How do you not know that if you've been doing this for how long? Get it together.
The headbutt, the last one, clearly cut him open, but I'm wondering, how did it affect you? Did it daze you at all?
I was ready to I stopped because I saw him go down like that, and I felt the headbutt. So I took a second, and then the ref didn't really see it. So I went to a tap, and then he stopped me, So I'm there to listen to the ref. I'm not, I'm doing my job as an athlete, and yeah, headbutts suck. It's part of it. Getting rocked in headbutts, and I go to the floor. I could have very well gone down there. I was willing to die. You gotta let me be out. You know what I mean? Let me be out. It's all. Is that so much to ask? I did 3 years. If you watch film, I've taken shots like this almost every one of my fights. I get rocked in some way or another. It's okay. We all do. We all get hit. We all expect to be hit. Talk to Gaethje. He's like, yeah, I could go down. How many times has Gaethje gone down, come back and won? How many times have I gone down, come back and won? It's happened. So it's like when you have those situations, it's the ref's responsibility too, to be aware that there's 3 seconds left in the round and this man's moving north. He's not staying on the floor just getting pounded. He's working.
You haven't had
you should know that.
Right. You haven't had a lot of low moments in your career in the octagon, in the cage. Would you say, is it fair to say that this is the most frustrating moment of your career?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's fair to say.
I mean, obviously the injuries were frustrating, but as far as like in an active competition, I would say that this one probably is up there, right?
It was, listen, this was, like I said, this is like a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Honestly, like fighting Henry, like we've got a history. I've always, this is what I couldn't have slated this any better. This was perfect. And the ball got dropped by me. That's not easy. That's not fun. I'm not going to pretend it is. I'm here letting you guys know, like, look, we're all human. It's not, but how moving into responsibility is the only way to really like make changes. I can point the finger all I want, but can I control who I'm pointing at? The answer is never. So turn it around, point at me. That's where I'm at. I also get to speak my part though, of my experience of the reffing. I can say that. It doesn't mean that that's why I lost, but I can experience my experience and explain that. And that's what I have of that ref. And I think, I have a feeling other fighters would agree. I would put money on it a lot.
And what did you make of the whole experience, like him kicking the stuffed heads and all that stuff? And
yeah, he's just, I think when I look at the big breakdown of Henry Cejudo and his squad now, they've got their technical guys because he's an athlete. And so they do the techniques. They've got the mouth because he's not that way. When the cameras go off, he's like, he also can't make eye contact. He would not look me in the eyes, like just always anything he could to get away. But who talks is his nerdy coach. Does all the talking, and you know that he's the mouth because Henry wants to say those things but gets a little flustered from my experience in front of the camera. So when he gets flustered, they have a guy for each thing. And that was my experience of that team. They use their team well to get the job done. He's a performer. They've got the mouth, the useless mouth with the glasses, the big goofy guy with the glasses, wearing tight clothes for no reason, white everywhere. Like what? Like it's a mouth, it's a jester. And it was interesting, but they did their job and they used their team well for those things,
So to be very clear, you want to fight again and you are planning on fighting again, right?
What I'm going to tell you right now is I feel healthy and I feel not like, I don't feel like broken. You know what I'm saying? I'm here and I'm going to get back to the gym and train and then move from there. I've got people that can make this move anytime we want. It's not going to be hard to find people that want to fight me, and it's not going to be hard for me to find a fight. So I think it's needless to say that you will be hearing from me in some way, shape, or form again.
Do you have any of those fights scheduled? Are you working any of them as a commentator?
Yeah, as a commentator, I'll start working while I get my body working. I'm just going to get back to work here. So when I can't use my body because it needs to heal a little,
yeah,
I'm here to serve and give my mind the best I can.
And let me ask you, finally, if you could take off the fighter hat and put the media hat on, if in fact he is done, and if that belt is vacated, who would you put in that title fight? Who deserves it the most, in your opinion?
Aldo and Jan. Sandhagen's up there. There's anybody in the top 5. Sterling.
You'd really honestly put Aldo in there, even though he hasn't won at bantamweight.
I think that we're talking about headlining a division to build the division, right? So it's like that champion. He's been champion. He's held divisions before. He had a shot before I stepped in there because of the circumstances. So it's like, because of that, it's like, well, he was going to face Henry anyways if Henry stayed around. So I believe, he would slide in there versus any of those anybody in the top 5 could be a champion at any given moment right now. The division has been built so solid. Like from when I started this thing back in like 2009, when the division was developed, look at the weight class now. It's literally one of the most fierce competitive divisions on earth. This makes me very proud.
I'm happy to hear you say that, because I was just about to say it's solid because of you. It's because you
of
put the
us.
division.
We're all one. I can honestly say that. And when I speak and when I do commentary, I speak as a fighter and an analyst, but I be neutral in those moments, because so many times have I wanted that. And you know what? Listening to the commentary of our team, it's not easy to do that job. They did a very good job talking about Henry and what he did well, what I did well, and it's not easy. So kudos to those gentlemen as well, from the UFC staff, to commentate on a very tough card with a lot of weird stuff going on, taking chances away, going in. DC's got a family too. He's got kids, like, out of quarantine. He's making good money, but you're out of quarantine.
Dom, I appreciate you very much. Thank you so much for doing this. Anything else you want to say before? I know you said you're going to do like one big one, and then that's your statement. Anything that we didn't touch on that you want to get out there?
No, just we're all one. Think about the fact that we all connected in the biggest sports event in history. I feel like if we can connect to punch each other in the face, we're going to be able to connect in society again and be together. So help each other out right now, because there's a lot of people that are scared. I was very fortunate to get this opportunity. I'm in a lot of gratitude. I'm just dealing with a lot of my own, the suffering of losing as well with it. So I love you guys, and thank you for following.
I hear you. Thank you, Dom. I appreciate it. Great fight. Great to see you back. It was so good to see you back in there after all these years, regardless of the outcome. It was just so great to see you in there against a guy like Henry. I appreciate everything that you do, and I hope that you have a speedy recovery here, mentally and physically, and that we get to see you back in there soon enough.
I'll be good. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Dom.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.